6 million souls departed Enderius's orbit in 2134 PE. The Allermain flotilla was the largest ever constructed, carrying not only scientists, engineers and specialists, but their families. They were to be the second wave of colonists, and Hanari eagerly awaited them. The ships entered slipspace without incident, and the peculiarities of interstellar travel meant it was weeks before Enderius learned the first scheduled check-in had been missed. This was not entirely unexpected. No two transits were identical, but with every subsequent attempt at contact returning only static, hope fell into despair. Without resupply, the flotilla could survive for no more than 6 months. It is a testament to Enderian optimism that attempts to reach them only ended after 5 times that. With the loss of the Allermain flotilla, the passion and enthusiasm that had defined the colonization era were doubled down, and all future efforts increased. The disaster was blamed on previously undiscovered instabilities within the primitive slip drive technology, and there was some comfort in the knowledge that those on board the flotilla likely never had a chance to realize that something had gone wrong. Statues were built and choirs sung to the 6 million lost sons and daughters of Enderius, and the kingdom tried to move on. Yet far across the universe, the pioneers of the Allermain flotilla were very much alive. In place of the thriving colony meant to welcome them and all its accompanying orbital infrastructure, supply networks and communication relays, they had emerged within an entirely silent, entirely unknown star system. Instead of the blood-red sun of Hanari, the new system had 3, each orbited by a great many planets and moons. Shrouding them all was the empty expanse with no recognizable constellations found, and no frame of reference identified. In a single moment, their dreams had been dashed, and every soul aboard had to reconcile with the knowledge that they would never arrive at their intended destination. Without a functioning slip drive, they were stuck. They could operate for 6 months without resupply, and every second wasted might mean the difference. Luckily for the colonists, however, the nightmare scenario had also not come to pass. If the entire trinary system was home only to toxic worlds and dead moons, then the flotilla would be left to die in space. As if acting on their prayers, the system was home to one world, which, like the original target Hanari, possessed a biosphere comparable to Enderius. Preparations were drawn up and a landing site established on the planet's surface known simply as Germania. While the landing and establishment of the colony itself went over without many issues, the population of the colony ship eventually fell into tribalism and factionalism, splitting into groups of 12 not dissimilar to the 12 kings of Enderius. These groups spread across the planet, creating their own smaller tribes and nations. 12 turned to 8, and eventually 8 turned to 4. When one tribe would become too powerful, the other 3 would ally to defeat them, and so this continued. The inhabitants cannibalized the remnants of their interstellar ships. One day, the leader of the most powerful tribe on the planet made a discovery on a pilgrimage to a cave. A strange arch made of an unbreakable stone. When approached, it seemed to light up and glow purple. It is not known on that day what knowledge or power was gained by Vulcan, but the gift he received led him to conquer or absorb the other 3 tribes of Germania, eventually creating the Union of Allermain, or simply known as the Allermain. Vulcan promised a crusade across the stars to find the ancestral homeworld, and the unification led to a massive jump in science and technology. Eventually, Vulcan revealed the existence of the gateway and led the soldiers through it, finding many different worlds, though the dialing process, and crusading though much of the southern ring, bringing back many foreign relics and technologies, only being repulsed at the world of Arbor. Eventually, Vulcan's forces landed on the planet of East Greston, embroiled in combat between the Enderium Empire and the Brotherhood of Iron. While not recognizing Enderium forces at first, the telltale eagle of the Empire was recognized by the priests of the Allermain forces, leading to an audience with the Sector Overseer and their introduction back into the greater galactic community. The reveal of the Gateway Network and its extensive galactic route to the Enderium Empire led to a partnership between the Empire and the Allermain, leading them to be folded into the Enderium military as a heavy infantry, playing a large role in the War of Shadow and Iron. The Allermain today occupy 5 densely populated systems and are a civilization completely dedicated to war and the practice of it. While they operate a small navy and borrow and buy much military hardware from the Enderium Empire, they maintain one of the largest infantry forces in the galaxy and are ready to use it at a moment's notice. Germania itself was eventually forged into a world worthy of the Allermain, but it was learned at great cost that the planet would forever be threatened and its entire society would have to reflect that. Its earliest cities were constructed in the traditional style emulating Enderius after reunification, but the broad avenues and ordered urban grids favored any attacking force, and sweeping changes were enacted. Germania could not afford any distinction between its fortresses and cities. Streets were constructed in such a way as to disorient any potential invader, arrayed in zigzag patterns that would force an enemy to fight for every block. Bastions and local garrisons were stationed in every corner and spire that possessed a commanding view, while at the heart of every city was an enormous fortification known in the local dialect as a kissa. From the air, these resembled intricate puzzles, which could be held for months if not years, even if the surrounding city had been taken. Its people were no different than its buildings, reorganized into a society wholly devoted to war. Every Allermain was taught the skills necessary to become a soldier from the moment they could walk. Tactical doctrine was prioritized above basic literacy, and every citizen was required to serve at least a 4-year term in the planet's military before either becoming a career soldier or instead joining Allermain's military-industrial complex. But if the time of the Second Great Sector Wars is on the horizon, then the Allermain are well prepared for it, no matter who they may fight, whether friend or foe.